Hallo und herzlich willkommen auf der INDUSTRY.forward EXPO. Ich bin Dana Natzke vom Publish Industry Verlag und ich moderiere Sie heute durch die Session Playing Both Sides of the Platform Revolution. Dafür begrüßen darf ich bei mir auf der Industry Zero und Transformation Stage Rado Svec, Vice President Platform Conrad Electronics von, hello, nice for you to be here today.
So I'm very eager, obviously, right? That's why I wanted to jump into it. Thank you for the introduction, Dana. And thank you all for coming in and hopefully to an informative, maybe even inspiring story of Conrad's transformation. I'd like to tell a little bit about what was the journey we've been on for the past 5-6 years, what were the wins, what were maybe the lessons, and hopefully it will help you in case you are finding yourself in a similar journey or maybe have that journey ahead of yourself. So I hope you can all see my slides, and I'm going to go ahead. A little bit about me, very briefly. Vice President Platform for Conrad Electronic Battery Company for over 4 years. And I'm responsible for anything that has to do with a platform as a business model, which we define as a business model where we combine our own capabilities with those capabilities, those assets of third parties in order to bring value to the customer. The greatest probably example of that manifestation of it is the marketplace, B2B marketplace that we launched over 6 years ago, but there are also some other projects, and I'm responsible for driving that in the organization. So Conrad probably doesn't need introduction in DACH, especially German context. We've been around for this year, actually celebrated just 100 years, so I would expect that a lot of people came across Conrad or have some idea. Probably one thing I would mention behind the numbers or beyond the numbers that you can actually see is something that is probably also going to be the topic of today's presentation. The fact that we all know predominantly through our shops, through the maybe Modellbau experience in childhood, we have really made a shift to more of a B2B company. And it's something to kind of bear in mind as we go, that the Conrad you may know from your younger days, from your childhood, is quite different to Conrad now. There are many good things that still remained, but there are also some exciting developments. So 4 generations of owner-led company. Now Klaus Conrad, Werner Conrad still being involved, probably not as actively, not in executive, but we have this proud history of really 100 years, developing from a very small store in Berlin all the way to a quite large distributor throughout our history. But one of the red threads you can also see through these slides, and I'm going to go not into great detail, is quite a constant change and adaptation and adjustment. That's kind of really in our DNA as a company. And as Dr. Conrad quite often says, change is our destiny. That's why we need to be able to adapt to it. And I have to say, Conrad is one of those companies that has changed in its DNA. And even though it's always difficult and transformation has certain risks and challenges, we are almost kind of used to it, not always fatigued from all those things coming in. As when we say change is our destiny, we need to adapt to this change. And one way to adapt this is to make sure that our strategy reflects it. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what had been our strategy past couple of years, how it had manifested itself. But perhaps because a bit before I started talking about strategies, about kind of what are we trying to achieve, what is our purpose. And we have defined really our mission is kind of new light as a company who wants to really simplify complex sourcing processes for its customers and help them save time and cost. Most of you have probably experienced the frustrations or joys of working in your own jobs when you need a little part or when you need to order certain services. Not always straightforward, and we hear this echoed quite often from our customers who find it quite complicated, quite time-consuming or intransparent. And this is where we see in the future, it's going to be our role to help our customers make that simpler, faster, more effective. Always going to focus around what has been our core, which is kind of electronics and technical goods. And with any strategy, with any sort of repositioning of a mission, there's a valid question in terms of why do we do that? And one of the advantages we have as a B2B company is, yes, we collect a lot of signals through data, through digital interactions, through search key terms. But of course, we have the privilege of having quite a decent sales force and quite a decent customer base through which we can engage and with which we can have a conversation around what is very important to them. And again, with that kind of focus on in particular B2B, we hear quite often about this need to simplify processes, purchasing process. They have less, the challenge of having less people in procurement departments and accepting or expecting more productivity from those people. We hear a lot about the need to have digital and automated process in terms of purchases, of really pressure to maybe not so much focus on the individual product cost, but really total cost of procurement as being one of the main drivers. So we listen to those signals, those feedbacks around value-added services, and that's kind of how we ended up defining that mission, as well as strategy, and that's kind of manifested itself into our vision of we want to really become Europe's leading B2B sourcing platform, and are already on a very good way to get there. And how did we ensure that we go there? So a couple of components, I'm not going to talk about all of them, but there are a couple of components that are building this strategy. And there are three pillars that I'm going to mention today. One is around the business model. And that kind of has a couple of elements in it. One, we have made very clear 5-6 years ago, we're going to be a B2B first company. Not B2B only, we're not abandoning our B2C customers, but everything we do and build is geared around that vision of B2B first, whether it's people investment, technological investment, product development, whatever it is, we want to make sure that first and foremost serves the B2B customers. One of the second sort of example I'm going to mention, the shift that we made, we were a retailer, we were a distributor, but we felt there's a lot of opportunity to add value to our customers, to also become enable third-party business model to become a platform. Internationalization, very important. I mentioned earlier, or it was mentioned on the slide, we're in 16 countries, and we want to kind of penetrate those countries deeper. That's a big pillar of our strategy going forward. You may have heard in the news and noticed that maybe your local Conrad shop is closing, but we still see physical as well as digital, as well as omni-channel part of our strategy. And when I say omni-channel, we still have customers who come to our physical stores. We have customers who order through us from cutting-edge interfaces, as well as those who really order through fax. And we are still able to support all of those types of interactions, making sure that they can transact with us and that we can add value. And probably the last thing I'm going to mention, even though we do quite often tenders and RFQs, our focus is really on those unpredictable spot purchases, spot needs, where we can add value. Those are the things that we hear from procurement managers are probably consuming 80% of the time of the transactions of attention, but maybe even mean maybe 20-30% of the spend, but actually eat a lot of that complexity. And that's where we want to focus ourselves and remove that complexity from our customers' procurement chain. And as I mentioned, just a little memento, this is how our call lift button looks like in our headquarters. We're not hiding the technology, quite proud of it. And with this, what I want to say is we're still kind of really focusing on those technological products. These are our core. It doesn't mean we're not going to sort of still play around the edge, but that's where we see our focus going forward. Solution products, a couple of things I'm going to mention. E-procurement solutions, very big. I'm sure most of the companies here, when they purchase through some sort of e-procurement solution, that we're absolutely heavily investing in there and present there, can support any type of interface, whether it's API, EDI, whatever abbreviation it is. This is where we build our base. We also focus on private label. Good example is test and measurement. A range of products specifically for industrial and business customers. We also offer consolidation. Quite often we have a conversation with our customers who are coming actively to us to consolidate their supplier base. We are having projects in this regard, and as well as product services, various calibration services, 3D printing services. These have been also demonstrated by our customers of adding value into their interaction with us. And then probably I mentioned special procurement. We know that even if we don't have a catalog, customer can call us and we'll try to scour the earth and find that solution, that product for the customer as a service. And then probably third, I would mention the enablers. And I'm going to probably dive a little bit deeper on our architecture and the cloud has been a huge boost to our technical capabilities. The fact that we have our own team and we can make a decision whether we would buy something off the shelf or we can build it our own and maybe create added value through our own teams who can develop that. I briefly touched on stores. This week we launched a third B2B focused store, so really kind of not in a city center, more in an industrial area, and we still see the physical retailing as part of our value proposition to our customers. And probably not surprising, we have also our own warehousing, various projects within that capability to support us going forward. So those are kind of the bets we placed across our journey, and probably a question for you would be what has been the outcome. And I can kind of say, we said we want to become a platform. We are a platform, but we also support and take part in other platforms. And when we talk about whether it's a technology platform, whether we talk about platform as a business model, we are there, as well as we allow others to participate on the platform. And I'm going to give you just a couple of examples, perhaps how, just to give you a feel for what has changed as a result of this strategy. We don't have the very famous and popular Conrad paper catalog. It's not there. Most of our customers really want to interact digitally with us. We have made a quite radical shift from sort of B2B being 30% of our business 5-6 years ago to now being 70% part of our business without necessarily losing the overall top line. As a matter of fact, growing it. So that's been a huge, very demanding, but actually huge success in retrospect to achieve something like that. I mentioned that we exited from B2C stores, tough decision, but at the same time, we are trying something new, and actually it's proving to be quite successful with physical stores. E-procurement, still, already 60% of our volume. There's still customers who buy through the website. I'm not counting it here. There's still customers who buy through classical sales channel or RFQs, but e-procurement is already 60% of our volume. We have new tools like Conrad Smart Procure. It's pretty much a procurement platform with approval flows, reporting, as well as catalog connected, which we offer for free to our customers, and especially for kind of middle-sized customers, is really valuable tool and very popular. And as I said, we have now really broad-based and big customer base, from 5-man company to really DAX clients, household names, and larger international footprint with growing sales-based customer base. And probably I wouldn't be a good guardian of my own division if I didn't mention Marketplace, which is now really creating a third of our business with our customers. Probably just a smaller deep dive on the Marketplace. As I mentioned, we launched it 6 years ago. This is a purely B2B focused Marketplace, and gives us really advantage of focusing the products towards the business customers, as well as the type of partners we invite on that 6,000 brand, 10 million customers. And what we're really pleased about is the fact that we have managed to internationalize it in 5 countries, as well as now enabling cross-border. So there's a seller based in Germany, wants to export, into Italy, doesn't necessarily need to be based in Italy, have a big Italian organization. We enable that transaction to them. And probably, I hope it doesn't sound too cocky, but I always like, and we internally always are pleased when we also receive additional recognition, whether it's from customers, from industry experts, from journalists, in terms of the journey we've done so far. So all parts of success is actually our slogan. I like to probably use it or misuse it now to kind of say maybe a little bit about what were parts of our success, how we achieved what we achieved, and what were the preconditions to do that. I think one of the most important one, even though it sounds very simple, was the kind of long-term and consistent vision from the owners to the executive board to the senior management. Despite challenges like Corona, where maybe the business was stopped for a while, and business customers started to be very hesitant. There were voices internally, should we reconsider this B2B, maybe should we balance it with B2C? And there was a very clear, now long-term vision where we can add value to our customers. And we hear quite often from customers, is a platform, is internationalization, is B2B first. And we steer the ship towards that core without wavering and being very consistent in messages all along. Not probably everybody can replicate it, but the fact that we have patient capital, that we don't necessarily show ROI on a new project every quarter, really helps us. You know, that the owners are willing to invest, willing to be patient, and some of the projects are really done. If somebody asked the ROI question probably after 1 year or 2 years, they would have been killed if we didn't have that kind of support, and that was very instrumental also in our success. I spoke about technology. You know, this slide could be called death by logos, and trust me, this is probably only 1/4 of the various providers we have there in terms of machine learning, browser automation, testing, database, web server, security, and so on and so forth. But this is a huge enabler for our technological team, who can then enable actually our business teams to function. All cloud-based, cloud-native, with millions of API calls, and again, very important in terms of our journey to interact with those all sorts of variants that our customers are throwing at us, our partners. We need to be able to react to that, build solutions to them as well. Next slide. Constant customer validation, super important. We got away from the times when somebody in the business said, well, I need this feature, and we really try to engage customer into when we develop new product, new solution, new interface, we bring the customer along the journey. We don't have just a sales conversation, we have actually the product and solution development conversation with them. Very important for us. We are trying to build long-term partnership, not just kind of transactions, whether it's customers, the manufacturers we address, whether it's our partners, who many of them are partners as well as our customers, which can really deepen that relationship, or our technical partners, super important on our journey. And I spoke a little bit. I'm not saying it's easy to replicate, but the fact that we have this change, this transformation, a little bit in our blood, we're used to it, has helped a lot. Talent, and I mentioned a little bit why right ways of working. You know, whether it's agile, whether it's design thinking principles, whether it's product development methodologies, whether it's Scrum, you name it. We really, as a company, went through a time of adjusting these various processes that we believe would make us successful in terms of bringing the product to the market, being more responsive, being more agile towards the customer, being able to address the issues faster. And that has been a great enabler for us as well. So it kind of looks like everything has been rosy and easy, but of course we had our challenges, and we have also lessons learned, and I'll probably try to share some of them with you now. Probably something we could have done earlier is alignment of incentive. In transformation like that, it doesn't help when the purchasing guys have targets around unit margin, and sales guys have a completely different target, and the tech guys have something else. And we've done it a couple of years back. We were able to align out everybody in the company is basically targeted on 2 main KPIs. And is it the perfect system? Probably there isn't a perfect incentive system, but the company is really now aligned. And I just wish we probably done it earlier. There are some mantras that on this journey one has to actively let die. Sometimes actually probably help to kill. One of my favorite example is we allowed one of our traditionally some colleagues seen as a competitor to be on our platform and sell through us. And there was a lot of discussion, but we came to a relatively quick conclusion. Look, having this partner participate adds value to us, adds value to the customer, adds value to the partner. Why wouldn't we do it? And there's just one example is where you sometimes probably have to break those old definitions on a journey like that. It's a transformation journey, and at times it's easy to underestimate how many times you have to repeat certain messages, how many times you have to reiterate, re-engage, even though you felt like you repeated 5 times, how you have to align, for example, those incentives dimension, and many other components that come into transformation journey. And probably have we started earlier, taking on really as a transformation journey would have been easier. that's probably something to take on board. Challenge for us was also the tech teams were agile, the business wasn't, right? So they're thinking in the old world, kind of, hey, I expect, give me what I'm going to get in October. This product was going to have a specification. And of course, technological development these days works slightly different. This kind of alignment took us a little bit of a time. It's very important. Everybody speaks this same language early on. And probably one of the remaining points is we had a big B2C heritage, and a lot of our own internal colleagues, as well as a lot of our providers and partners, kind of, they think they can just kind of copy paste the B2C solution to B2B world, and it's not like that. My advice to anyone would be to really challenge those who really build not just the CV, but maybe the client portfolio, if it's a provider on B2C side, that really understand the intricacies of B2B, because it's quite a different animal. And yeah, we try to really focus on customer problems, not the solution. We have in business, we have this tendency to jump into the solution, quick brainstorm, and I think before understanding the customer problem, it's a bit of a suboptimal way to go about it. So really spend enough time with the customer to try to understand where the problem lies. So I'm not taking any warranties for this advice, right? It's just sharing what's helped us on our journey, as well as what didn't work. Now, hope this was somewhat adding value to you in case you are finding yourself on a similar one. And if I wasn't able to cover everything, I think we have remaining 10 minutes to cover through your questions. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope it was helpful.
Thank you for your presentation. We do have some questions. Before I get to them, nochmal der Hinweis an unsere Zuhörer. Es geht natürlich auch immer noch weiter Fragen stellen. Wir bleiben offen, bis die Session geschlossen ist. So let's start off maybe with a bit more base question. It's maybe a chicken or egg question, I would almost say. How much of the change, or the will and need to change, would you say comes from outside, from the industry changing, or how much do you changing influence the industry?
So I think for us, it was really the former, right? Because as I mentioned, we spoke to those customers. Naturally, we also had various experts come in and consultants trying to understand, what could the path be for next 5 years. But it was really observing those changes in terms of what is happening in industry, digitalization, new business models, and active dialogue with big customers help us understand, as well as use of data. So it was kind of that inside or outside in perspective that then was sort of adopted also internally.
Mm-hmm. Okay. While changing, of course, you also needed to change your systems. Do you support more human-based, or do you use AI solutions as well, fully automated?
So we are definitely on a strong path towards automation when it's possible. Also using, probably some of you had experience talking to my colleague Chris last week. We are engaging with AI tools, and I would say anytime I engage, whether it's a company similar to us or also technology providers, they quite often sort of complement the journey we do. But what we hear quite often from customers, as well as the partners of various forms, the fact that we have this human connection, that somebody is a face at the other side, or somebody can be reached on the phone, find a solution. If we cannot make it through an automated way, we can make it through the human way. And we want to keep that, because that's also part of the brand perception that we have, and also part of our DNA. We really, if we see a problem, there's a tool for it. We'll go and manually find a solution for customer for that. Sometimes it's not super optimal for us to do this. Sometimes it's costly to do it, but we believe this is the right thing to do for the customer.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big discussion right now. It's chatbots or AI, ChatGPT, all the solutions, how much and how. But yeah, I definitely agree. A personal note is always nice. It's always important. But talking about that, about customer communication, how well did customers accept your changes? So it was there hitches, or do they go along well with everything?
So that's a very broad topic, because a very broad customer base. I think on the negative side, of course, the fact that we had to close last year, a lot of our B2C stores was not accepted easily. At the same time, I think once they start to engage, people can understand the story we're trying to tell and why it was necessary to do that. But that was definitely, from a customer point of view, the toughest probably decision we had to make. Again, we're not abandoning B2C customer. We're changing the channels. We engage with them. Then on the other side, we quite often hear positive in terms of the solution orientation we have in the company. How, let's say, I mentioned marketplace, how is adding value to, because we just had a conversation with a customer actually this week around how is able to now really engage with us deeper, because we have this broader and deeper catalog, thanks to the fact that we also build marketplace. So generally, we hear positive things, and the positive things we also see in our numbers and the various metrics we have, and whether it's engagement scores or whether it's actually hard sale data. So generally, it's been positive, but there is no transformation where it's a pure plain selling. And there are people that probably would like to see still Conrad shops. We'd like to probably see them as well. As I said, they're coming and they're already there, but they're just focused on slightly different use case and going forward than they have been in the past.
Well, we talked about customers a lot now, but maybe let's switch to a more internal focus. Transformation is always a painful but some difficult process to communicate on the inside. There's always fears. There's maybe counters. Or do you have any tips to share on how to best take my personnel along on a change?
I think a couple of things that I mentioned, I'll just reiterate this kind of consistent vision, the fact that, look, this is not just this new manager that came in and has some ideas, but everybody stands behind this. We're going to stay, this is our course going forward. Naturally, kind of demonstrating early wins, whether it's from customer feedback or from sales data, kind of cement the trust in the organization that, okay, we are actually on the right way. Also bringing in new talent. I mentioned briefly in one of the slides is bringing new talent, or actually bringing new skills into existing employees really helps. And one of the things we also introduced 2-3 years ago was actually measuring the sort of employee engagement, understanding where it's coming from, what are the frustrations, what works well, to help us really have a pulse on that, because it's super important, as you said, bringing the employees along on this journey, very important. So it's a super complex topic. I can't probably explain everything, but I hope I gave you some ideas that really focus on to make sure that we can bring our employees along on the journey.
Yeah. Sure you did. And well, that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you very much for being here and answering and holding this presentation at all. Und vielen Dank an unsere Zuhörer, dass Sie hier geblieben sind, dass Sie fleißig mitgemacht haben. Und dann wünsche ich Ihnen und euch noch einen sehr schönen Tag im weiteren Verlauf unserer Expo. Wiedersehen.
Danke, Wiedersehen.